to be asking about the secret sauce, but what's your data source for this?
DICOM data.
What is it?
DICOM data. So any MRI, any CT scan, in theory it would work on echocardiograms and ultrasounds. Like I haven't tested it yet, although I love the idea of a 3D like newborn baby like coming out of someone's fridge and they like touch their picture. But those are the two things that we've really been focused on.
So then you're pulling all that data together to display in these layered forms?
Correct.
Okay.
So if you go and you get a CT scan now, right, it may be 30 slices, I don't know, it could be any number of them, right? Someone's gonna, in almost every situation, look at those 30 individual slices and be able to, so imagine those but reconstructed into the thing that it was. I'm hoping we had this interesting conversation about this guitar, he's got a guitar project that he's working on where they're scanning guitars and CT scanners to be able to understand density and hydration, because that's what makes really old instruments sound really, really good, is like they've got all these fibers that capture all these different elements just from play, wear, etc. over time. So I'm hoping you're gonna let me take those scans and create the world's first reconstructed 3D guitar.
Yeah, this would be the first. So, a couple quick questions unrelated to. We'll talk about that later. But do you find that? Are you familiar with DEXA-scan?
I've heard of them. I'm not intimately familiar.
So DEXA-scan is a colleague of mine. He's a personal trainer, and so it's kind of this sort of best kept secret right now for a lot of the elite Olympic style trainers. They're doing low grade MRI scans of body fat and muscle composition, and so
Yes.
I didn't know if there was any possible. What are your verticals that are maybe left of center of what you're currently doing?
We've been at it 9 months and we're bootstrapped, so we've got a million dreams. I think that the easiest and fastest transitions or ways that we would use it, medical education, veterinary, I don't know a single dog owner that wouldn't, medical education in general, veterinary, I don't know a single dog owner that wouldn't pay $25, $50 to see like what animal the dog ate, or like rock or stuff that, like when things like that happen. Interesting performance animals, right? Like racehorses, greyhounds, not that that's like a huge market that we would shift into. Athletes, right? Like you were saying, I mean, I've got dreams of the Philadelphia Eagles wanting to use my scanner, but that's probably more personal than anything. Anything where you're working with medical imaging, there's a lot of things that we can do and want to do in the clinical space. I think a lot of that takes more stability than we have right now. But yeah, if you're, I can almost guarantee that our scanners is visualizer would elevate your friend's practice. I'd be shocked if it didn't. So I'm happy to, love to connect about that. And the guitars.
I don't know how I ended up here, but I somehow signed up and I found your this meeting.
I'm glad you're here.
And I'm an oncologist. I work for a outreach facility for UNC in Rockingham County. I can train academically. I'm a very community care providing physician. And I often have to describe patients their imaging when I'm treating cancer. They're interested in knowing whether their tumor is, where exactly is it located, how big is it. And I'm not a radiologist. And I depend
Yeah, so interestingly enough, last night, I've met all these random and amazing new people here in the last few weeks. I had someone reach out to me last night, very excited that we were going to be at Venture Connect. It goes on to basically show me like an earlier and somewhat different version of what we're doing now that he had as a pet project, like went to SIGGRAPH in 2011. It's a very large convention if you were doing something crazy in 3D or immersive design. That's like the place to be doing it, especially in 2011. And he's like, it looks like we have the same passion. Like, I hope your timing's better than mine. It's kind of ominous, but it was on the same path. I think there's other companies now that are doing it. There's some pretty amazing ones in the VR space or more in the AR space actually, where they're overlaying, like Metavis. They've got one where you're overlaying it over a patient while they're actually doing surgery. For that, and back to the FDA's like likelihood of harm policy, right? We're not going anywhere near surgery. So anyone can use it for whatever they want to, right? It is for viewing and understanding and communicating. But there have been some really, really awesome ones. I haven't seen anyone really build anything for patients other than a
From
pool.
the patient side, from the back end, I'm a radiologist, I'm using 3D imaging, mammograms.
Not on the patients.
I don't think they are on the patient's side. But my next question is, there's a lot of red tape in healthcare, and I'm glad to hear that you were able to get in with some concierge medicine physicians. Have you considered outside US? Like, where you may not have, like India, for example, patients own their data, there's no such thing as PIPA. And the technology there is pretty good, and you have all these IT people there. Have you considered talking to anyone where
Yeah.
you can look at their images and do something virtually from here?
So not specifically in India, but yes. One of my former colleagues, his family is in Abu Dhabi, and they've got a hospital chain there. Trying to, like, he doesn't want to go to them until we have some level of like proven, there's been a clinic that's adopted it, etc. We're working on that now, but I think there are absolutely places that we could do this in that are easier. For the most part, it's built, right? So we'll obviously continue to build on top of it, but
So
it's.
let's say they send the images virtually, how long does it take for you to reconstruct them 3D to be able to show it to the patients?
Take 2 minutes, maybe, from like the time that you hit upload.
Okay.
It obviously depends on the internet connection, but it's real time-ish, right? There's still file sizes that are 1.5 gigs, so we we convert them to a different format as we store them, which allows us to move them around and not go bankrupt from Amazon. And then, once it's uploaded, you just double click on it. And maybe actually takes like 15 seconds. It's the initial uploading because it's doing like virus scans and several other technical things that I won't tell you about right now. But yeah, I'd be happy to go anywhere with it. I think I don't want to run from people not owning their own data, though. I want people to own their own data. So I think that there's that, right?
There's patient notes, there's advocacy, and patients are seeing more and more of their data from their end. But there's still a lot of red tape. I think
100%.
private sector going through concierge, direct primary care, direct specialty care physicians might be the way to go, where you have less red tape, where a patient consents to share their images. That may be a place to start. But thank you so much.
Yeah, can I ask a quick follow-up since I'm talking to an oncologist that's kind of a target customer? So, as an oncologist, not knowing me, how would you feel if your patient came in? I'm not baiting anything, I genuinely want to know, but how would you feel if your patient came in with something like that you had no idea, like where, it's like Dr. Google and steroids over there. They walk in with a 3D purple skeletal structure that they say is off their data. Is that, hoping you help usher that in a little bit better on our side. But do you think physicians would respond well to that? I mean, I kind of wanted to work.
Patients came with their own images.
Yeah. So.
Have us explain to them. Is that what the question?
Well, no. So I thought you were suggesting go direct to patient, right? At some point, maybe I misunderstood that.
Oh, no,
but
no. Oh, okay. Sorry. No, there is this, just like concierge medicine, there is a more economical way of practicing that's becoming more and more popular now. It's called direct care. Direct primary care is very popular. And a lot of
Gotcha.
primary care physicians see patients in their offices and there's no insurance in between involved.
Yeah.
They pay a monthly fee, just like the concierge practices, but it's much lower, less expensive, more affordable by people. So it's basically a cash-based practice with no middleman involved. And I think that direct DPC is what it's called. There are several physicians in our area who do that kind of practices. There's a map, and there's a whole website to get to those physicians, just like concierge practices. And there's also specialty physicians who are trying to do that. It's still very small. They're doing cash-based practice. Insurance. So I meant approaching those practices. I did not mean to go to patients directly, but if patients were to bring something, I mean, I would explain to them. I would be happy to explain to them, but I don't know.
It's better to go
there
through.
is so much from internet. I don't know. I need to know how reliable it is before I comment on anything.
I think personally it would feel like I have overstepped a little. Not that we would never let patients scan their own records, but it feels a little much to send a patient to a doctor with something that's that far from normal treatment paradigm. It's not for treatment, but I think y'all know what I'm saying, right? It's new. Great suggestion. I would love to pick your brain about some of those clinics and where they are and where it's at. I love it. Thank you.
I think maybe one more question, and then people can go and try out the demos after that, right? I think that's part of the fun part. Great question.
So my question is really not technical. I'm a PhD student at UNC Chatham. I'm studying business, so I study entrepreneurs and founders in the biotech and medical device industry. I'm just curious of the benefit of. So I know that a lot of medical device companies are founded by physicians, doctors, but I'm just curious, what is the benefit of non-patient entrepreneur in this industry? How do you see the benefit of being non-patient entrepreneur, and how do you compete with patient entrepreneurs?
So I spent the last 8 years designing teams to build products rapidly. We were an acquisition-led growth strategy, which means a company would go out, they would buy whatever crap someone sold them and told them was gonna, change the world, and it never does. And my job was to get all of them trying to look and act the same way. And a lot of acquisition-led growth strategy companies, their tech stack looks like the history of the internet a little bit, right? It's got like a little bit of this, that, and that because they're growing over time. I don't think that it's better than being a physician. I'm not. I would love to be maybe someday. But I mean, there are certain elements that I have to rely on the judgment of others for. We've got radiologists on our board, Dr. Adam Brown, professor at UNC, but former ER surgeon. He's on our board as well. We're trying to build more relationships with those doctors. You're always not going to know something. I think it's not saying you said this, right? But I think it's easy for people to say, oh, well, if you don't have doctors on your board, you're not a healthcare company, you're just a blah, blah, blah. And sure, there is a lot of that, but I think if you've got an access to experts, that it's not just physicians, it's regulatory, it's clinical, it's statistics, it's, you know, marketing, it's knowing how to navigate through different healthcare ecosystems. For me, that's been probably the most beneficial. The software part just gave me a real solid, like, fundamental process for how to ramp something up super quick and how to, you know, deliver it in a way that keeps your bosses convinced that you're doing good work, right? And so I think that benefits me a lot. Yeah, it's, I don't always get taken seriously, if I'm honest, right? And going into a hospital, they're kind of like, who's this guy? He's got a box of cookies and a purple hologram of a patient in his hand. Yeah, it would help me if I was a physician or had that expertise, et cetera. But I don't think it's insurmountable, right? You gotta know what you know and know what you don't know and know who to ask when you come across something that you know you don't know. If I got that right. In my experience anyways.
All right, well, thank you
Actually,
very much.
I got one last question. You just dropped the word hologram.
Okay.
Do you see a future where instead of wearing a kit over your face, you're actually looking at a hologram?
Yeah, did we bring, is it in the drop? The Sony? Sony gave us a 3D display. So not quite a hologram, but it creates the appearance or illusion of a hologram. Your eyes actually do the work. It's got like 2 cameras and sends 2 things. So that's 3D. We have it working on a looking glass holographic display. It's not Star Wars, like, you know, Yoda coming out. It's not that cool yet, but it's...
So looking glass is like, if you imagine a fish tank, that you're looking into this
Yeah.
thing, and actually multiple people can look from different angles and see what's inside there.
Yeah, that's a much better way of describing it. They've got other types where photonics, where it's, you know, smaller and much more detailed, but the scale and resolution you can get to is ridiculous. So yeah, I don't see any challenge with that at all. And in like military, you probably already see it or close to see it pretty consistently. It's just...
So the idea of light has to have something to bounce off of. So you can't just project light into the space because there's nothing for it to bounce off of. And so you could have like a contact lens that had something that like projected out and you felt like it was there. You could have, you know, an LED screen that thing was being projected against. You could have something you're looking at that is projecting 2 different things to your 2 different eyes, so it looks like it's 3D. There's a lot of different ways, but you can't just project onto nothing. Although there was one really cool example, the University of Utah. They used lasers or something to take like basically a piece of dust and move it around really fast, and they were able to create very small holograms, like they were, you know, like an inch big or something like that. But that's the interesting part of it.
Yeah, you're going to see some crazy things. I mean, you look at the, I forget what it's called now, of course, because I'm here talking to everybody, but in Vegas, the new display center that they just did, the Sphere, yeah, that thing's incredible. A lot of high energy shows now have kind of ridiculous next level laser light effects that they're doing. Fog machine or other types of like vapor makers will reflect hologram or reflect light as well. I don't know that that's like a packaged thing in a device that's manufactured, but yeah, I mean, 5 years you're going to see some ridiculous things, I think, that are pretty awesome.
All right. Well, with that, let's thank Adam. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Really
Thanks for all for coming out. Appreciate
Yeah, and thanks for everybody who put on this event. This is such an incredible space. I love the space. And
Well, I owe you an apology.
Oh, no
because
worries.
I didn't see you on the docket for introducing you.
oh, that's all right.
Yeah, so do you mind if I...
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the 7th installment of Innovate Carolina at 79 West. Raise your hand if you've been here before. Okay, I see some people who haven't been here before. If you haven't been here, when you leave, grab this card, scan this code, and you'll get 30 days of free co-working here at 79 West. Not a bad trade-off. You got some food. You got free 30 days of co-working.
Oh, yeah.
You got to hear some pretty cool stuff. Please give these guys a warm welcome. And then, so feel free to stick around. I will say that we